Hello, CQ. CQ, calling CQ. CQ, the old friends net for 160 meters. This is N4LQ, November 4, Lima, Quebec, Steve, and Shelby, North Carolina. The old friends 160 net is an AM net, and we start at 8 o'clock here on 1864 every night. So if you'd like to check in, please give me a call.
WB4NKL.
Hello, Cliff. There was another station in there, I think, or somebody was on your radio. Let's see if I can pick him up.
KO4CTM.
Hello, Jim. Long time no hear. Glad you could make it tonight. KO4CTM. Anybody else? CQ, the old friends net, looking for check-ins. This is N4LQ, listening very closely. Anybody and everybody is more than welcome. Okay, this is N4LQ. Well, I got my hands full tonight. I'm using the HQ110A VHF to do the receiving and the AF-67 to do the transmitting and the D104 to do the talking, and my right hand to turn the gain down when I talk. I don't have the mute hooked up. Got the RF sensing TR switch, but no mute yet. And this receiver is a little bit harder to mute, so I'm probably going to end up using the audio or using the speaker. I already got the box for it here and the relay contacts to take care of that, so no big deal. Anyway, and of course the let me see here. I'm running a little bit of power. Try to reduce this a little. Yeah, 360. Well, oh boy. Anyway, let me turn the fan on to keep her cool. And we'll go ahead and pass it around, see what you guys have been up to. So, WB4NKL ticket, N4LQ.
Yeah, N4LQ, WB4NKL. Well, good signal, Steve. Band's sounds pretty decent. I was listening on 75 earlier, and quite a bit of QRN over there, but I guess the band's a little longer. It's picking stuff up further out. I got a walk-in, had to run to Johnson City today, and on the way back I stopped at Jonesboro and at the Persimmon Ridge Trails and got a walk-in. And I come back and got the yard mowed after it dried up enough to get on the lawnmower when I got back. So I guess I'll be heading out in the morning to go to Cutstown. I haven't done anything about getting ready for that, so I've got to go. After I get off of here, I've got to go pack a suitcase and see if there's anything else I need to do. I've got to meet the guys down at on the interstate there about 8 o'clock in the morning. So I won't be on any of the nets for a while. Jim, sounding good? Go ahead. KO4CTM, WB4NKL.
WB4NKL, KO4CTM. Very good, Cliff. Yeah, I'm on the Globe Camp 300 this evening. I'm getting in the bad habit of using the SDR to receive. Oh, Lordy. I think the SX101 would receive fine this evening. The conditions are pretty good, but It's not quite the same as receiving on the SDR, but two, my receive is so much better with the loop. I'm on the loop tonight instead of the dipole, so this morning on the on 75, I basically had to switch over to the SDR because I just really wasn't picking up some stations. But anyway, that's good. Good. It spoils you. But not a lot going on here today. Just normal work and digging outside a bit. Looked over the garden and whatnot. The tomatoes are doing swimmingly in the buckets, in the 5-gallon buckets, and got some cucumbers coming up, and everything's looking good. Raspberry bush. I got a little, I guess it's basically a smaller raspberry bush that's in a bucket that it's coming out and doing well, and strawberry plants, and there's plenty of blueberries on the blueberry bushes, so we'll have some fruit and whatnot coming around here shortly. But other than that, got out and just did some stuff outside and checking the garden and whatnot. Didn't do a whole lot of anything else. Did get a run in. I ran about a mile and lifted some weights, trying to keep my old fat body halfway in shape. So got a decent 1 mile run in and some weightlifting. So that's about the exercise here for the day. It's 72 degrees still and about 95% humidity. It's pretty humid outside, but nice evening. It cleared off later in the day and everything was good here. So that's about the story from here. So on back to you, Steve, M4LQ, KO4CTM.
Okay, KO4CTM, N4LQ, real good. Do we have anybody else that'd like to check in? All right, boy, you guys sound great on this 110. Yeah, I was up on 75 trying to listen to that AMI-net, and boy, it was rough. But now I could switch back and forth between the SDR and this 110, and most of the time the 110 did better picking out the AM signals. It's kind of funny. The SDR over responds to static spikes, and I've tried different settings with the AGC, fast, slow, medium. It's got threshold, decay, all kinds of adjustments, and nothing I do seems to help. So anyway, the noise limiter really works good on the 110. It just takes the noise out, especially those static crashes. And I don't know, I'm just I'm curious what the deal is. I've always wondered about diode detectors. It seems like they do an amazing job considering how simple they are. Just basically a rectifier tube or just a simple crystal diode can perform as well or sometimes even better than a DSP circuit. And by the way, I've looked at the IC7300. The DSP chip is a little bit less than 1 inch square. It's got 256 leads and 2 million transistors. Who knows how many other parts are in there. And I downloaded the manual for the chip. What was the thing? It was like 400 pages long. And there's schools that you can go to learn about the chip. So, like I've said before, nobody knows what's going on inside these rigs, these new rigs. But we can understand these old ones. So let's see here. Poison ivy today was an issue, and I was walking down the other street on the far side of my property along the road. From the road about 10 feet back for about 40 or 50 feet is just solid poison ivy. So I mixed me up a bunch of Roundup and sprayed it good, trying to kill it. Mainly because I'm afraid somebody will get into it, or I'll get into it, or even a dog. And speaking of dogs, sitting here reviewing my security camera from early this morning, and I saw a fox go across the front of the house, right across the driveway and across the front of the house. Big long-tailed fox. So there you go. Not sure what to think about that. So back to you, Cliff. WB4NKL, N4LQ.
Now, N4LQ is WB4NKL. I thought I heard somebody else there on top of Jim there a time or two, some audio. I'm not sure what that was about. Yeah, good deal on the fox. We've got a few around here, gray foxes and the red foxes, and deer and turkey, a lot of wildlife. It goes through the yard. Ring doorbell picks it up middle of the night. I usually review them in the morning and see what all I captured. But they're calling for more storms tomorrow. I guess I'll unhook all the antennas and maybe even kill the power out here to the radio shack while I'm gone. Hope it don't get too bad for Linda here to take care of any messes that comes through. Something else I was going to mention, good deal on the gardening. We've been putting out a few things, Jim. We got some tomatoes out and peppers and cucumbers. Linda did pick up some cucumber or pickle bushes. Oh, well, these are just cucumber bushes. They're burpee, but they just called them cucumber bush. I was telling her that the one that you had was called a pickle bush, but her where she picked them up down here, they just had the cucumber bush. Probably about the same deal. She put out a couple of those. Let's see, nothing else much going. The little AF-68 sounding good, Steve. That's amazing on the 110, keeping up with the SDR. The technology, miniaturization and everything. I was pretty much on top of everything in the 70s, and then it started when they come out for the surface mounted stuff. It started slipping away from me. I'd be lost trying to change a chip in some of this new stuff. I worked at the bench there at the railroad about the time surface mount was coming out. It's about when I went to a field job working on stuff in the field, dispatcher radios, and they moved all our radio shops up to Kentucky. So I missed out on the surface mount repair and miniaturization. When I think about miniaturization, I'm thinking about a Motorola HT220, all discrete components packed in a tight little space. Go ahead, Jim. KL4 CTMs, WB4NKL.
WB4NKL, very good, Cliff. Yeah, I have a feeling that the cucumber bush is probably about the same deal. Yeah, I've got about, I guess, about 12 of those plants that popped up out of the ground with this rain that came through, and got a good row of beans that's already coming up, and cucumbers are doing well in the 5-gallon buckets. Sent a few pictures of the bucket tomatoes to Cove. He was talking about maybe trying that, so he said he may try and get a few buckets and see how it works on his end. he did send me a picture of his radio that he picked up from you. That's a pretty nice radio, so I'm glad that he made that trip safely, and I'm sure he'll enjoy that. It's been a while now, I guess a few weeks, but little red fox came trotting along the edge of the woods, and I kind of followed along with him, and he went off down through the woods and then off to the creek, and really didn't pay me any attention, but he come trotting through. We got all kinds of stuff here, coyotes, and you got coyotes a lot of times at night, a bunch of barred owls. We've got a ton of barred owls that come in here. I like to take my, I've got like a little Bluetooth JBL speaker, and I love to take that thing outside and hook it up to my iPhone, and I'll play barred owl calls on it, and those things will come in. They'll land in the oak trees right over top of the deck, and Cammy, she won't sit out there with me when I'm doing that because she just doesn't like them things right on top of her. But those things will come in. They'll hear that call, and I'll blast it out on this little JBL speaker, and them things will come in, and they will be everywhere. We've just got a ton of them. And I read a story actually a week or so ago about the fact that the I guess it was the National Forest Service or somebody was talking about killing like 2.5 million barred owls. They were going to just eradicate them because they are creating a problem for the habitat of another particular owl. And so they were talking about like killing like 2.5 million barred owls, and I'm like, I just don't know about that. I mean, I'm, I don't know. I don't know about that. I mean, it's one thing to try and protect a species, and I get what they're saying, and the particular species that they're trying to protect. I guess the barred owl creates a lot of competition and probably outdoes the other species, but I'm like, I just don't know if I can go for a wholesale killing off of 2.5 million barred owls just because Mother Nature decides that they're a bigger predator than the other species. But anyway, we've got a bunch of them here, and I don't have any intentions of eradicating them. I just let them do their thing. They'll come down in the yard and sit right there and pick up a mouse or something like that and just sit there and look at you while they're eating it. So they've become quite the entertainment here for Cammy and I. We'll go out on the deck a lot of times, and they'll fly through and come down and pick them out of ground or looking or run around the yard and sit there and eat it. And I mean, they won't be more than 10 or 12 feet away from us, and they'll just sit there. So that's pretty cool. But we've got all kinds of wildlife here. I mean, we live in we're not that far outside of Greensboro or Asheboro, but I guess we're kind of in a space there where all of the critters just kind of do their thing, and we kind of like it that way. But anyway, back to you, Steve. M4LQ, KO4CTM.
KO4CTM, N4LQ. Very good transmission. Very interesting about the owls. I never heard of the barred owl. I guess owl's an owl for me, and I didn't know one owl from the other. But there's a net up on 75 meter called the Royal Order of the Boiled Owls, and they usually meet at about, I think, around 4 o'clock in the morning. I think it's got something to do with being called a boiled owl, but I think it also means somebody that's drank too much. But yeah, I just looked them up here. It says they eat mice and voles and rats, rabbits and squirrels and possums and moles and raccoons and weasels, of all things. So I don't know. There's a balance to nature. It's risky to mess with it. I just, what?
I found that in my bathroom under the counter.
Oh my goodness. The roller, the roller out of the vacuum cleaner. She found it in the bathroom. Well, I guess the vacuum cleaner chucked its roller. I think it's got two rollers, and uh, one of them is designed to get the hair off the brush. That's what this one does, and it's rejected it. Man, that's weird. Okay, so that excitement's over. Okay, on the storms tomorrow. Hope you all have a good trip up to Kutztown and take a lot of pictures. I'd sit here and look at that video that somebody made last year of Kutztown, and I didn't think it was ever going to end. And man, oh man, I never saw so much stuff. It's definitely the boat anchor capital of the world, and some of the ham stuff I even saw like R392s and R390s and stuff like that. Well, I am live streaming this thing. This is I haven't done it this way for a long time. Instead of streaming the SDR, I just got a camera set up here on the shack and sending her out raw. So I hope the audio comes out good on the other end. I can see the video okay, but the audio I don't know. I've got a boom for the camera and it's mounted on the boom, so I can kind of swing it around and show the different things as I operate here. Cliff, yeah, the thing about it is on these mini circuits like this is you would have to go to school for everything, and you still probably would not be able to understand anything. These chips are designed by a committee. I mean, literally a team for each part of the chip. Now that chip of 2 million transistors is one of about, I think there's about 20 of them in there. And that's got more transistors in it than any of them. But the radio itself has 1,500 transistors and 1,500 capacitors on top of that, and a CPU with an unbelievable amount of transistors in it. So it's one thing to know, well, you put this signal in and it comes out this way and that way. But to understand how it works inside, there's probably not very many people that really do or care, and that's where we've gone. We've gone from people that understand their radios to total appliance operation. Well, let's see. Anybody else out there like to check in? Call in for LQ.
Being heard. N4LQ, WB4NKL. Yeah, I pretty well understood what was going on back in Motrac, Mycore, those days. They had some ICs in the Mycore. They probably had 5 or 6 transistors inside of the IC. They had a couple in the IF stage, and a squelch chip, and an audio driver. But you could actually envision what was going on in those chips. But like I say, it started losing me when they started with all these large scale integration and all that. I wouldn't know how to start. But kind of enjoyed back in the old days. The stuff now is more reliable, but you know, we had to work on the old stuff, but it kept everybody with a job. You know, I made a living doing it. So nowadays, radio goes bad. I don't think they even mess with repairing them. They just trash them and get another one. No repair involved. But back when I was into it, you know, a Motorola portable cost $1,000 to $2,000, and they were repairable, so we repaired them, and made a pretty good living of doing it. So you don't have all that nowadays. All that's went to China, I guess. Yeah, Cuz come up and picked up his transoceanic, and he visited a little while, and then he was leaving here. He's going to try to go see his niece, Leanne. I thought Leanne was another figment of everybody's imagination, like Terry's friend Leroy, but Cuz says Leanne's a real person, so he was going to go try to visit her on his way back. Lives over here at Gray, he said. But I've seen Leroy, but I've never seen Leanne, so some of these characters you hear them talking about, you don't know if they're real or not. That's crazy about the owls. I don't know why the government thinks they know more than Mother Nature. That was a process we learned about years ago. It's called natural selection, and they want to go and interfere with it. That's crazy, Jim. KO4CTMs, WB4NKL.
WB4NKL, KO4CTM. Very good, Cliff. Yeah. I don't know. I just read the story, and I don't think it was here. I can't remember exactly where it is. I'll try to look up the story, but yeah, there was some location where the barred owls were really creating a heavy pressure on another particular species of owl, and they were talking about eradicating like 2.5 million barred owls or whatever. I don't go for that. I mean, I'm, like I said, I'm all for trying to protect a species if it's endangered or whatnot, but yeah, no. Not at the expense of killing off millions of another species. I mean, I think the barred owl, the deal is there with it, that the barred owl is very, very, I guess they're very, they procrastinate, or they have a lot of offspring. So, I guess that they produce a lot of offspring compared to this other species, and they're just heavily in competition with the other species. And I think that the government just thinks that if they get rid of some of the barred owls, that the other species will do better. But anyway. Yeah, Steve, I pulled up the live stream there. That's a good looking Hammerland. I need that little speaker that's sitting there beside of it, the national speaker, to go with my NC183D here. But from what I could tell, I briefly listened in on the audio of the live stream, and it sounds pretty good. So yeah, it's working well. Good video quality there. Pretty good audio quality as well. So anyway, excuse me. Back to you, Steve. M4LQ, KO4CTM.
Anybody else want to check in? Now, bumped the camera with my chair, and it's N4LQ. Everything went askew. That little speaker, that's just a little metal box. And I'll turn it around here. Can't really see, it's too dark back there. I think it's a 4-inch speaker, but I've got it in parallel with the 8-inch, I guess it is, in that HRO speaker there, the black one. And it gives me the the voice response that I need. And the camera is about 2 feet from the speaker. It probably doesn't pick me up too well, but the camera is a Logitech, just a cheap little webcam. So it'd be nice if I wired the audio in, but then it wouldn't pick me up. So I'd have to make arrangements for that with another microphone. So we'll just see how this works out. I've tried this before with different arrangements, and the malachite for one, and then I've used I made one video with the PMRA. That turned out pretty good. Well, if they want to eradicate some species, they can start with pit bulls and work their way up from there. I have no love at all for it, and I know some of these dog lovers out there are saying it's all the owner's fault, but nope. Yeah, the owners are at fault for getting them, that's for sure, but they can't be trusted, and even owners that do everything right, sometimes they turn on the owner and actually kill the owner. That's happened multiple times. And when we lived in Louisville, we had a lady not too far away that pit bull attacked her in the front yard for no reason whatsoever, and it almost killed her. She ended up in serious condition in the hospital until some neighbors came over and just beat the dog off. Almost just about killed the dog, and the cops came. They finally put the dog down. But once they decide they want to kill something, they just don't quit. And Cliff, final on your comment about, yeah, the radios nowadays, they're more everything, and they're more sensitive, more selective. Well, I don't know about sensitive. You can only have so much sensitivity, but their filtering is superior, but mostly stability. And of course the IMD rejection, I mean, you just think of any category you can think of, they are definitely better. But as Charlie sometimes says, they have no soul. Yeah, they don't get hot, they don't have a charming glow, and surprisingly, sometimes, especially on AM, the audio is better. Now, the other modes, I can't say that at all. They're a pain on sideband. I mean, you can make them sound good, but it's very hard to keep them on frequency. You got to stay within just a few cycles, or people start sounding like a duck, and there's just all kinds of problems. But on AM, they do excel. There's no problem at all with them. And it's just like cars. You know, the old cars, people could understand before the computers. They could understand how they worked, right down to the carburetor and how the jets in the carburetor worked, and the ignition timing and everything could be taught to somebody in a matter of weeks in a vocational school. And nowadays, there is no way. I mean, you talk about chips. Man, oh man, there's probably hundreds of chips, integrated circuits, and CPUs all through the newer automobiles. And the best you can do is just swap out modules, as you were talking about. So, and okay, on Leanne Cuz picked her up. Went to Gray to get her. I've been to Gray one time. There was a ham fest there, and Brian and John Rusty was with me. I was driving my Buick Rendezvous. We saw a yard sale, and I said, "Uh-oh, we got to stop." We were on the way home from the ham fest, and I had to turn left across the traffic. And I stopped in the road. The guy behind me stopped behind me, and the guy behind him didn't stop, and he hit the guy behind me and totaled both those cars. And my car had some pretty expensive damage in the back end. It didn't hurt us at all. Nobody got hurt, but boy, those two guys, that guy was going about 50, I would say, and plowed right into the back of that car behind me. I hate to stop in the road because you just never know if somebody's going to stop or not. So that's what I remember about. And by the way, that guy that did that caused the accident was an illegal alien with no driver's license. So they put him in cuffs and hauled him away and probably got back to jail and turned him loose. WB4NKL, N4LQ.
N4LQ, it's WB4NKL. Yeah, sorry about that, Steve, but that seems like that's the way it happens. I know my wife, she got hit up here at Jonesboro, and it was somebody didn't have insurance or license. I guess that's the reason they didn't have insurance or license, probably been involved in too many accidents. But luckily, our insurance paid for it, for the damage. I guess I'm gonna go ahead and get out. Like I say, I haven't done anything about getting ready for the trip tomorrow. I gotta go pack some clothes and hunt up some stuff that I need to take. So I'm gonna sign out here early tonight, and maybe about time for John. Maybe you can pick him up. And if not, I'll probably catch you all maybe Sunday night. I want to be straightened back out from the trip by then. So 73s, thanks for calling us again, Steve. And I'll send it on to Jim. KO4CTM, it's WB4NKL.
WB4NKL, have a safe trip and travel safely and get home safe. And yeah, you're right, Steve. The newer cars are just crazy. I mean, I got a 75 Dodge Dart. that thing, you could climb inside the engine compartment and work on it, and you were good to go. And yeah, it's the newer cars are just crazy with all the chips and all the technology and all the computers and whatnot. So yeah, I always liked my old cars. I had a '68 Volkswagen Beetle, and that thing would go in the snow, and you could just jack up the rear end of it and unbolt the engine and drop it out with a little bit of a jack and replace the clutch and do all kinds of stuff to them very simply and very inexpensively. And it was kind of the same way with the Dodge Dart. I mean, you know, nowadays if you have a wheel bearing or something like that go out, you've got to replace the whole hub or whatever it is you got to do. And back then you just popped out the old wheel bearing and you put a new one in and you were good to go. So there's just too many things that are have gotten way too complicated. I guess it's the same way with radios. But anyway, I guess I'll hang in here for a second. I guess it's just you and I, Steve. Cliff's gone, but anyway, back to you. N4LQ, KO4CTM.
Okay. KO4CTM, N4LQ. Well, yeah, 68. I had my first VW was a 65, which I bought in 66. Yeah, 66. It was 1 year old. And It probably didn't have too many miles on it. But, you know, from day one, you got to keep after them. I mean, you had to change spark plugs every 5,000 miles, I believe, and readjust the points. And it was always something. But it's something that, you know, you could do and you could sort of develop a relationship with your car that way, I guess. But I had a wreck one time and it's in a parking or a mall parking lot. I went around the building and a Buick, it's one of the bigger Buicks came around and we got a head-on job there, and we were probably going about 5 miles an hour, just barely going. Somehow managed to had a head-on collision, and it tore it totaled both my fenders because it pushed them in. The headlights, the front bumper, which was kind of like a shower rod or something, and the hood. Let's see, two fenders, the bumper, the headlight assemblies, and the hood. And it put a dent in his license plate on the front. That's it. That's all it did. So I got it towed into the Volkswagen dealership there in Louisville. They had it ready the next day, painted and everything. Now they had that art down to an art. They could fix a car, and it was $200 for the whole deal. Fenders bolted on, hood, all that stuff, and spray painted, and away you went. They could swap an engine out in 10 minutes in that place. So it had a lot going for it, but you know, there was always something to do. That's the way it was with the Beatles. Gosh, I don't know. And then this Hyundai, that's the 2014 Hyundai Santa Fe that we bought new. So it's 10 years old. I've never done anything to it. I just park it in the garage and wash it every now and then. And of course, I change the oil. It's only got 28,000 miles on it, but it just never stops. And there's no need there's nothing to do. So I did put new tires on it because I didn't like the old ones. They weren't wore out, but they were getting kind of hard, you know how tires get. So, and then the truck, it's a 2017 and it's the same way. I've never done anything to it except tires. Same story on it. I just didn't like the tires. They'll go for 50,000 miles or so. So back in '66, you had to, you know, use polyester tires. Hey, you're doing good to get 8,000 miles out of a set of tires back in those days. So things have changed. Yeah, I noticed some selective fading on your signal there. Boy, it got brutal there for a while. It's amazing that we're getting the ground wave and the sky wave at the same time here, and they're out of phase, and they're trying to cancel, I suppose. It has to do with how far apart we are, I think. So back she comes, and drag your feet, see if anybody else wants to join us. KO4CTM, N4LQ.
N4LQ, KO4CTM, very good, Steve. Yeah. Well, I never really did a whole lot to my 68 Volkswagen Bug, except drive it. I did have to put a clutch on it, and I think a couple of brake cylinders, you know, because it had those funky little brake cylinders that you had to put in it. But yeah, I like the older cars. You know, I've got an old '93 Chevrolet S10. That thing just keeps running. It's got like 140,000 miles on it. And, and I love driving that truck. And, you know, of course, the other truck we have is the 2006 Honda Ridgeline. So, yeah, we haven't bought a car in a while. We had a 2013 Civic hybrid that we bought and paid for and paid off, and until the USPS decided to turn in front of me, and I made an emergency maneuver to miss them, but I didn't miss the cedar tree. So that totaled that little car. But other than that, we just kind of stick with our own vehicles that'll pay for it. I mean, we don't have any vehicle debt. We don't have any debt. I mean, that's the best thing about our situation. You know, we own our piece of property in our home, and we own our vehicles, and basically all we have is our regular bills. And I guess, you know, Tammy and I were both married before, and we decided when we got married that we were going to keep our money separate, and she pays her half of the bills, and I pay mine, and what we do with what's left is our business, and so my extra money goes to radios and whatever, and hers goes to whatever she wants for antiques and whatnot, and it all works out. So sounds like you might have to spend a little extra money and get a new vacuum there on your end. But yeah, on the SX101, you know, the signals are fading in and out. The SDR is working pretty well, but I switched back over to the helicopters here, so it is a little bit staticky. But anyway, I guess that's pretty much it from here. I guess I'll say 73 as well, but I don't know if anybody else is going to show up or not. I know that K4ZB usually rolls in here, but no sign of him yet. But we'll see. I'll stick in for at least another one. So back to you, Steve. M4LQ, KO4CTM.
All righty. Real good. Yeah, it's important to get debt paid off. We decided to do that back in, let's see, was it 1990? I guess it was around 1995, something like that. Or not, no, excuse me, 1990. Yeah. Well, actually, in the late 80s, we started working toward that. And we got the house paid off and the cars paid off. I haven't charged anything since except for the usual credit card stuff. You know, I put everything I can on the credit card and pay that off every month. Just what, you know, restaurants and stuff, gas. But I don't think we haven't used the credit for anything since then. And it wasn't quite as hard to do that back in the old days when houses were 40, 50,000. Our first house was 10,500. That was in 1970. Yeah, that was a 2-bedroom little house. And the next house we built, and we spent, I think we spent 40,000 building that house. It was on a couple of acres, and sold it 1 year later for 60, and then built another one for 60 and sold it for 100, and we just kept doing that until we ended up with a bigger house, and it was all paid for. So I think it's a great plan, but you have to be willing to work hard. You got to be able to fix the house up or build it, or, you know, buy a fixer-upper or something. So that was good times back then. I think the value of houses was going up quite a bit. That still is. So if you can find a house to fix up, that's still pretty good way to make some extra money. All right, I'm going to cut out of here too. Appreciate you hanging around. I'm glad you showed up tonight, Jim. Appreciate it. It's been fun talking to you, and you and Cliff, and enjoyed it. So we'll hope Cliff has a safe trip tomorrow to Cutstown and sends us back some pictures of all the good boat anchors and what have you. And hopefully see you in the morning. KO4CTM, this is N4LQ. Be clear.
N4LQ, KO4CTM. Very good, Steve. Thanks for calling that. Have a great evening, and talk to you soon. So KO4CTM, and I'll be clear. Have a good evening. 7-3.